6.3, here we go. Alright, so today our learning target says, I can determine if a quadrilateral is a parallelogram. Please write your learning target down. Now, all it has to do is pass one or more of these tests. And then it's a parallelogram. That's it. So we're going to draw an example of each of these. Then I'm going to put some quadrilaterals on the board, and we're going to determine if it's a parallelogram or not. Is everybody ready?
Why do they make the word parallelogram show up like parallelogram and stupid? Parallelogram. Why can't they do parallelogram?
Parallelogram?
Like
Paragram?
say it right now.
Right. Alright, so the first test that it has to pass is as if each pair of opposite sides are parallel. So what does it have to look like for the sides to be parallel? What markings do we have to have? The arrows. Now it says each pair of opposite sides are parallel. So is that just one or both?
Both.
So if one is parallel and it has one arrow, how many do these have to have? Two. Good. You were screaming.
Sorry, I'm not meaning to.
Alright, any questions on the first test? Okay, guys. This says, does it pass the test? These are the tests that it has to pass for it to be a parallelogram. I already explained that at the beginning, but you weren't listening. It has to pass one or more of these for it to be a parallelogram. Does everybody understand? This is the first test that it could pass. Test 2. If both pairs of opposite sides are congruent, what markings do we use for congruency? Tickies. So if we have one here, that means those are congruent. What do the other sides have to have? 2 tickies. Now, both pairs have to be congruent, not just one. So opposite sides have to be parallel, or opposite sides can be congruent. Number 3, both pairs of opposite angles are congruent. What do we use to mark the angles are congruent? Rainbows. And which ones are opposite?
Bottom left and top right.
Bottom left and top right. Good. Take a point. And what's another one?
Bottom right and top right. Yep. So 2 rainbows.
2 rainbows. Good. Take a point. She's just ignoring y'all.
I would too.
Alright, so the first test that it can pass is if each pair of opposite sides are parallel. The second test, both pairs of opposite sides are congruent. The third test, both pairs of opposite angles are congruent. The fourth test, the diagonals bisect each other. What would that look like?
An X.
An X? Okay, would we have to have any specific markings? Or can I just throw an X on there and be done with it? The tickies have to be on there because we have to know that they bisect each other. So you need 1 tickie for here and here, and what do you need on the blue line? 2 tickies. Because both diagonals have to bisect each other. Star, can you stop talking, please? We ready for number 5? Or do we need a mo? Number 5 says, if one pair of opposite sides are both parallel and congruent. Both parallel and congruent. So it has to look like this and have an arrow. I know. Nope, it just says one pair. It doesn't. That doesn't even make any sense. Alright, is this a parallelogram?
Oh, it's what we said.
Why?
Because 4.9 and 5.9.
Good, take a point. Is this a parallelogram? Why? Both pairs of opposite sides are congruent. Good, take a point. Is this is this a parallelogram?
No.
Wait, yes. No.
What does test number 5 say?
Can be both.
So are they congruent and parallel?
Yes.
So this is a parallelogram. Did anybody say yes? Good, take a point. Is this a parallelogram?
Yes. Parallel.
They're not parallel, they're just congruent. Good, take a point.
Oh, I see.
What about this one?
No. Yes. No, it's not.
The congruent marks aren't on the other one.
Yes.
There's only tickies on this, and we don't know anything about this, right? And these are congruent, but we don't know anything about this, so that is not a parallelogram. What about this?
Yes.
Why?
They're also
You got tickies on both
diagonal.
diagonals. Good, take a point. What about this? Why? Yeah, it does. These two are supplementary, right? Those are consecutive. Do they add up to be 180? So that means that these would add up to be 180. So this would be 105. Would these be congruent? And that means this would be 75. So would those be congruent? So yes. What about this one?
No.
They're not congruent.
It just says that both pairs of opposite angles are congruent. It doesn't say they can't all be congruent to each other. So is this parallelogram? Yes. It doesn't say that they don't have to, that they can't be congruent to each other. It just says the opposite has to be congruent. Are opposite congruent here? Are opposite congruent here? Boom, it's parallelogram. Look at us go. All right, turn your paper over to 38B. You are going to do 1 through 6 for me for homework. We are going to do 7 together. Now 7 says, determine if the following coordinate points will form a parallelogram, and it gives you coordinates. What do you think we should do?
We gotta make a thing. A T.
We're going to graph it. We have to make a coordinate plane. All right, go to 38C. Let's make it.
3,800.
And I'll write the coordinates down so you don't have to keep flipping back and forth, okay? Alright, so A is 2, 3. B is 8, 4. C is 7, negative 2. And D is 1, negative 3. Alright, so draw your coordinate plane and plot your points, please. What are you struggling with? It's on the right side of the second drawer.
Right side.
Like, stand up. Bless you, sorry. Yes. It's because you didn't plot 7, negative 2. I don't know what you plotted for that C, but you need to plot 7, negative 2.
Oh, I do 2 negative 2.
Are we ready or do we need a mo?
No.
Okay. I didn't mean for it to get that loud. I'm sorry. I got excited. I don't know any song that Lady Gaga sings to answer that, so. Are we ready now?
Yep.
Okay. So, for this to be a parallelogram, opposite sides have to either be congruent or parallel. Now, for them to be congruent, we could use the distance formula, but I don't want to do that. How could we tell if two segments are parallel?
You do the little, the big thing
So we
with
do
the
the
y
x2 minus x1
that.
It's not over anything.
with the line, and then y2 minus y1.
You're close, but you flip. Slow formula, yes, and you flip what you said. Good. We have to. Yes. Not 25.
28, because 3 plus 28 is 28.
What is happening? That's not. Oh my gosh, that's not accurate. Okay. So we know that parallel lines have the same what? Have the same slope. Good. Take a point. So we're going to find the slope of each of our segments, and we're going to determine if they're the same. So what we do is we find the slope of AD. And the slope formula is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1.
Wow.
I know, I'm going so fast.
Yeah.
You're fine.
Yeah.
Alright, and then we find the slope of BC because these two are opposite, so we want to compare these two. So we do y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. And you're going to do the same thing for AB and DC. I know, like the stuff. Alright, so what's our y2 on AD? Alright, so we do negative 3 minus 3 divided by 1 minus 2. Alright, what's negative 3 minus 3? And what's 1 minus 2? Negative what, baby? And that's positive 6. Now, for these two to be parallel, we want to make sure it's the same thing. Do we need a mo? Okay. Yes. Yes. She has a legitimate reason. I told her that you have a legitimate reason. Life is tough. Oh my gosh. Alright, so for BC, you do negative 2 minus 4 divided by 7 minus 8. Nakia, keep that inside, baby.
I did. I said,
Yes.
Okay.
It's underneath those papers.
So these are parallel.
Yeah. Those are parallel. Why are they parallel?
The numbers are the same.
Because the numbers are the same, alright? Find the same thing for AB and BC. Tell me, say AB, AB and DC. Is that also my calculator?
no, I got this from Jerry.
Here's a second.
Just put it away from you so you don't take it, you thief.
Cool.
I took it from 3, 4, 5, and I did. So I'm not a thief, I'm a borrower.
She goes to Okay, but I stole that from you, but you gave it to me and I
You
just
stole that.
I did it. She gave it to me. I just didn't give it back. Where you going? That's not stealing. That's called bad advertising.
Yeah. Let's go with that.
That is not how things work. I got 1-6 for AB. What did y'all get?
I got 1-6 too.
Or are you just copying down my work? Alright, I'm pausing there. Clean up your towers. Hey, put your tape and your staplers in the second drawer, you heathens.